Okay, friends, great honor for me to introduce our speaker today. I refer to him as the Rock of Unity 5 Cities. It's none other than Chris Garey.
It just gave me peace. I felt peace just flowing through me. That's great. So the theme for this month is apology. Is strength. The theme is strength, and I want to talk about the strength of apology. And Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, the co-founders of Unity, talked about inner and outer strength. Outer strength being your physical and your health, but the inner strength is that part of you that helps you face life's adversarial situations with grace and while maintaining a sense of peace and purpose. So that's what it takes inner strength of character to apologize and repair mistakes and repair relationships. And you probably know some people that don't apologize at all for anything. And what the message that they're sending is, you don't really matter. I do something that hurts you, that doesn't matter. And of course, that's not the message that we want to send. We want to learn how to effectively apologize. Because in best of relationships, we all make mistakes and mess up, things that we regret later. And so we need to make things right. But saying sorry just isn't enough. That's the first step in the road to restoration. But unless that bond is restored, little hurts can grow into bigger hurts. Instead of healing, they can grow. So we want to work on healing all of those things that happen. So apology is preventative and maintenance and repair for relationships. And that can be a relationship with others or with yourself. And so there's a book called The 5 Languages of Apology, written by Gary Chapman and Jennifer Thomas. And they're the same ones that wrote the book about the 5 languages of love, which I've talked about before. But I'll just go over briefly that we all express love differently. Some people do it by giving and doing things for other people. Some people express love by having a quality time together. So if one person in a relationship is a giver and one wants quality time, if they don't communicate and talk about that relationship is going to have difficulties. So it's important to be aware. So it's the same thing with apologies. People want different forms of apology, not just saying I'm sorry. And so a quick apology doesn't usually do it for most people. So the true reconciliation involves intentional steps that demonstrate sincerity, trust, and work on restoring the connection. So the 5 important ways to apologize, of course, is to say you're sorry. That's expressing regret. Then accepting responsibility. Making restitution, in other words, making it right. Changing behavior, and asking for forgiveness. So again, the concept is that some people perceive differently. So some people want to hear you take responsibility. Some people want you to fix it. So we can talk about that and learn from each other how our language is so that we can communicate more. So let's drop into those a little bit deeper. Expressing regret is, you're stating sorrow for the hurt or damage caused, but without justifying or minimizing it. So in expressing that regret validates the feeling that you've hurt the other person. And it communicates that their pain matters. For example, I'm very sorry you were hurt by what I said. Shows acknowledgement, but you can go a little deeper with, I regret saying those words because I know that they caused you pain. So that shows empathy. And regret, so that we're expressing regret sort of softens the situation and then allows more dialogue and makes it clear that when you're saying you're sorry in a meaningful way, that you're willing to confront the uncomfortable truths that I've made a mistake. So others want you to accept responsibility. Shows a deeper owning of one's role in causing the harm. So like, I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. I take full responsibility for that. Shows honesty and humility. And when responsibility is accepted fully, the injured person can start to begin to trust that the offender understands the impact of their transgression. So some examples. I was wrong to break my promise to you. I take full responsibility for that. Sorry I was late, but the traffic was terrible. It's not taking responsibility. That's blaming the traffic. I use that all the time. So we don't want to blame, and don't want to take full responsibility. So others want to hear that you're going to make amends, make it right, and it demonstrates a commitment to healing the damage. For example, I'll repay the money that was lost, or I'll replace that item that I broke, or writing a heartfelt note, or making public acknowledgement of your error. So that transforms regret into action. You're going to do something, and so that it's not an empty thing. It's you're making a real effort to repair what was harmed. An example: what can I do to make this up to you? I want to make sure you know how much our relationship means to me. How can I fix this? In a traffic example, since I was late, I can stay late and finish up the project. I will pay for the repair of the dent I put in your car. All of those, you're going to take action. And then some people want to see you change your behavior so that it doesn't happen again. And that's the most powerful step in healing relationships, is changing behavior, because without just apology can be hollow or temporary. But if you're willing to make a change in your behavior, then that shows that you really are learning from the situation and want to make a change. For example, I'm so unhappy about how I behaved, I'm going to take some steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. I'm going to go to counseling. Or the traffic example, I'm going to leave 15 minutes earlier so I'm not late in the future. Or if I'm going to be late, I'll give you a call. So that's making it different, doing something different. And so this is about personal growth for the offender, because we have to remember that all of life is a classroom. So we can learn. We learn from our mistakes. But when we're willing to change, then we're demonstrating that we are learning and growing. So then the next thing is requesting forgiveness, because forgiveness invites the injured person to let go, release resentment, and consider reconciliation. But you have to remember that forgiveness cannot be demanded. It can be asked for, must be freely given. But if you can say, will you forgive me? You're open. It opens the door. And even if forgiveness is not immediate, the request communicates a desire to restore the relationship. And when forgiveness is eventually granted, it provides closure and allows both parties to move forward with renewed connection and trust. So, for example, I know I was late and disrupted the meeting. Please forgive me. I know I hurt you, but can you find it in your heart to forgive me? And then now the question is, what happens if they say no? I can't forgive you. Yikes. Well, now I'm not talking about something where you've caused a loss of life or great physical injury or something. It's something less than that. But if someone will not forgive you, the best thing to do is just to continue to take responsibility and show by your actions that you show sincerity and regret by your actions. And you can't force forgiveness, but you can demonstrate through your words and behavior that you've learned and changed. And that's the real key, to learn and do something different. And we have to be patient and give a person some space. Sometimes time or distance will help the forgiveness process. And even if they don't forgive you, you can practice self-forgiveness. You have to let go of it for yourself. And this is all about our unity principle of letting go. If the other person can't let go, we have to move on with our lives. We can't get stuck in that, because we're making the change. We're going to make changes, and we're going to move on with our life. And a quote from Abraham: "In the long run, you cannot do anything about someone else's vibration other than hold them in the best light you can, mentally, and then project that to them. And sometimes distance makes that much more possible than being close to them." So sometimes some distance, giving them space. So I'd like to repeat a section of today's daily word that Jill read, if I can find it. Okay. It's here somewhere. Here it is. I got it. Thank you, Brian. Just the first paragraph. Occasionally I may decide that a transgression or a mistake is simply unforgivable. Now, I should phrase this. This is if you're finding you can't forgive somebody. Occasionally I may decide that a transgression or mistake is simply unforgivable. However, when I maintain a spiritual perspective, I realize forgiveness is a key to moving on from painful interactions and is an important part of my spiritual path. So forgiveness is an important part of our spiritual path. So if you're on the receiving end of a hurt, remember that forgiveness is part of our process too. And since life is all of life is our classroom, we can choose between two different teachers: the teacher of peace and the teacher of conflict. It's our choice. So how do we use all of this? Well, the first thing is to think about what your personal language of apology is. For me, it's how can we fix this? Let's make it right. For you, it might be a little bit different. So you can think about it. And also, just as a spoiler alert, I have an information sheet out in the reception area there with these 5 languages and a little information about the book, so you don't have to take copious notes. So yes, thinking about what your language is, and then think about what the language is of the other person that you're working with, and make sure that you're communicating in that language. And then learn to craft apologies that sort of touch bases on all of those. So I'm going to use an example. Let's all of you, like all of you, to imagine that you have a car that you really like. You've had it for a while, you're comfortable with it, and you may even have a name for your car. And I come along carelessly with my car and back in and crunch your fender of your car. Yeah, you're going to be mad. You're going to be upset. You're mad at me now. So I'm going to do an apology and listen to it and see which parts of it resonate with you, and then that gives you a clue as to what your apology language is. I want to sincerely apologize for damaging your car. I'm very sorry about my actions and the inconvenience that has caused you. I take full responsibility for what's happened. Don't make any excuses. I was just careless. It was my fault, and I know it. To make this right, I can cover the cost of the repairs. I can get a rental car for you while it's being repaired, or I can work with your auto insurance company. Whatever you want me to do, let me know. And then I also want you to know that I've learned from this experience. I know I need to be more careful. And in this case, I was late for a meeting, so I rushed and made a mistake. So I won't do that again. So this has been a wake-up call for me. And I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. I value our friendship. Can we still be friends? So if you heard that, did that soften the situation a little bit for you? Yeah. And so maybe you would forgive me? Maybe. Maybe. So to summarize, together this form, something's ringing. Together this form of holistic process, this is a holistic process for helping damage relationships and opens the door to reconciliation. They strengthen bonds and develop resilience and create relationships that can endure through hardship. And that's what we want. We want to be able to have resilient relationships that will have difficulties, but we can rebound and get through them. And through this, we expand our consciousness about ourselves and about others, and more easily extend love. As you know, I always like to close with an affirmation. When I was doing some research on affirmations, I actually found three that I liked. So I'll read them all. Apology is strength, not weakness. It opens the door to healing. Every honest apology rebuilds trust and deepens love. Apologizing helps me grow, connect, and move forward. Especially I like that last one, because that's part of we're always growing and expanding. So I'm going to read it one more time, then we'll say it together. Apologizing helps me grow, connect, and move forward. Together, apologizing helps me grow, connect, and move forward. Can I hear an amen? Amen. All right. Thank you.